Welcome to Haunting History, the podcast that reaches back into the past for the events that still haunt us today. Tales of true crime, mystery, and the macabre. And when we're lucky, the stories were history and the people who lived it and the paranormal meet. Now, who doesn't love a good ghost story, right? Welcome back to Haunting History Podcast. I'm your host, Kat.
And I'm Haley.
I'm Carrie.
And I am Anthony. Was that what you wanted? Was that Dracula?
I don't know what that was.
That was Count Chocula.
I mean, it was fitting for the whole thing, so I'm good with it. Thank you. I wanted to tell you, first of all, for the people that are listening, we are recording this in front of a live audience in the city of Corona, and we are in the location that we are in right now. Was originally built as the third Corona High School because they built one, it wasn't big enough, they built another one, and it wasn't big enough, so then they built this one. How many of you knew that this was one of the original high schools? You did. It was from 1923 to 1960. So this room that you're sitting in right now is over 100 years old. And to put that in perspective, it was before the World War II. It was before iPads and iPhones. The school stood before televisions were even existing. Hi. Come on in.
No.
Did it scare you?
I
Thanks,
thought it was
Ghost.
the dead students from 1954.
Oh my gosh.
The door starts jiggling.
Knock next time, you guys. Be on time.
You're like, oh, wait, this is getting real.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome.
Of course, they terrified everybody in the room.
Yep.
This school, I don't know where to go back to, stood before television existed, a time when radio was cutting edge. Silent films were the height of entertainment. The concept of the computer was still a stuff of science fiction. If we were doing this at home, she does this to me all the time at home. Am I what?
No,
I
we're fine.
did, but I went without you. I'm just going to cut that whole part. You guys only get it. That's special. In the decades after the school first opened its door, the world would face enormous changes. By the time World War II erupted, many of the boys who sat in this room would have left their classmates, their futures uncertain, and not all of them returned. Imagine all the lives that passed through these halls, the laughter, the tears, the celebrations, and the sorrows. In a place so old with so much history, it's not hard to believe that some stories may never leave. Tonight, we're diving into the spooky halls of haunted high schools. I know, did people come because it was Haunted Corona? Anyone? No? Oh, thank God, because we're not talking about that. We're going to do haunted high schools since this was the high school. There's so many haunted high schools across America. It's kind of hard. Did anyone go to school here in Corona? You did, right? You went to Corona High School?
I went to Santiago.
You went to Corona High School? Santiago?
Oh, those were my rivals.
Were they?
Oh.
Keep them in the back. They
How
killed
many
us in
years ago,
football every
exactly?
year. I think they still do.
So many high school, if you Googled haunted high schools just in California, you'd come up with a top 10 list. And then there'd be 30 more listed after that. And I don't know what it is that makes high schools so haunted. What do you think? Why do you think high schools are so haunted?
All the hormones.
That's what I say.
All the emotions.
Yeah.
All the teenage girls. It's a lot going on at high school.
I don't know.
Well,
Maybe no, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's also a lot of people that come in and out of high schools between staff and students and
I think it's the emotions.
And I think it's maybe the kids that were teased a lot, and then maybe they come back for their revenge.
that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Coming from a guy who was.
I was
teased
gonna
a lot.
say.
Yeah, who was bullied, yeah.
Were
I didn't
you
peak
really?
until,
Do you go back
halfway
to your
through
high
senior-
school? Would
all
you?
the time as a ghoul. Yeah, I just float on over.
Were you really picked on in high school?
Was I what?
Were you really picked on in high school?
No, not like that. I just wasn't really. I was more just not acknowledged.
The two extremes right here.
Yeah.
She was queen of her high school.
I was
And
not.
then you were not.
I was not the queen of my high school.
No?
No.
People think that a lot of places are haunted. I think houses are haunted. I don't necessarily think cemeteries are haunted, which they're still creepy.
So
if you don't stop it.
So sorry.
You know, at home when we're recording, she'll start going like this. While I'm talking. And then I
Takes too long.
lose my place and then can't. What? You doing it again?
Got things to do. It would
Okay.
take too long.
Every
It's
time
fine.
you move.
Okay, well, it's connected to my chair.
High schools, places of us most remember for their long days, bustling hallways, and unforgettable memories. But for some schools, the past is not so easily forgotten. Tragic events, untimely deaths, lingering spirits have turned some of America's oldest schools into hotbeds of paranormal activity. We're going to talk a little bit. One of the high schools has, I kind of wanted to do a disclaimer and I forgot. What is the disclaimer that we use? You were one of the episodes where we talked about unaliving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What was the disclaimer? Is anybody uncomfortable speaking about suicide? Raise your hand. No. One of the schools has, and I always try and warn people first. High schools, in many ways, are time capsules, and they hold the energy of the youth, the hopes, dreams, and unfortunately, sometimes the tragedies of the students who pass through the doors. For many, high school represents a pivotal time in life, a period of emotional highs and emotional lows, making it a perfect setting for the supernatural. The energy that fills the halls may not always fade when the students move on. In places where sadness or trauma have occurred, it's believed that the emotional imprint can linger, sometimes manifesting as hauntings that students and staff experience afterwards. Most of the schools that we're going to talk about towards the end of the 20th century, and when I'm researching a story, like a couple of schools were built like in 1893, I always try and picture what it was like. So I'll go look at the school and see what the building looks like. And this time I looked up what people wore during that time, because I can't picture it in my head, girls going to school dressed in Victorian clothing. Like, that's not easy to picture, right? So back when the first school that we're talking about, when it first opened, girls would have been wearing long dresses that covered their ankles. They would have been wearing high-collared blouses. The boys would have been wearing knickers and long socks. And it was a different time, but they were still regular high school students. They still had the same emotional highs and lows that students have today. Across the United States, there are dozens of high schools that have become infamous for their ghost stories. Some of the sites are untimely deaths, accidents, even mysterious occurrences, while others just seem to hold an eerie atmosphere that defies explanation. Today, we're going to explore the most haunted high schools in America, starting with one that is considered the most haunted high school in America. Can anyone guess what it is? Anyone ever look into what haunted high schools are? Anyone ever think of that? Me? Only me? Okay. Pocatello High School in Idaho is where paranormal activity has been reported since the 1920s. It opened in 1892. Since the 1920s, people have been talking about it being haunted. At the time, the original building was a grand structure designed in a style typical of the era with large windows and imposing brick architecture. Kind of like how these have all the big windows. It looks really the same. When the school first opened, it served fewer than 200 students, but even then it was considered a large institution. Life in Pocatello in the late 1800s was hard, but the building of the school was a symbol of hope and progress, showing that even a rough railroad town, the future mattered. And
Another
perhaps, as with many old institutions...
God, there's literally a ghost at the door.
that was a shadow, too.
See, now he's going to open it, and she's not there anymore.
There's no one there.
Ooh.
What just happened?
Are we done?
The door was locked, so I think they walked away.
What happened? Oh. They didn't bother to book the room? One of the most enduring tales is of a drowning in the high school's pool. The specifics, like the boy's name and date of the accident, have faded over time. But what remains is a sense of something or someone that still lingers by the water. Late at night, when the school is empty, the faint sound of water splashing can be heard, even though the pool lies still. Are you all right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you don't believe that was a cleaner, and now you're, like, on edge.
I saw a shadow, and then he went to go open the door, and there's nobody there. So, explain that one.
Was someone there? So you're going to have to go home with Anthony. He's not leaving here by himself. There are people that claim to have seen his figure just like out of the corner of their eye, standing near the water's edge, a shadow of a shape of a boy watching quietly, forever caught in that moment. Those who've witnessed him say it's as if he remains there, locked in the past, long after everyone else has moved on. His afterlife stuck in a loop, playing over and over again through the years. Now, would that really scare you if it was like an imprint?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not real. If it's an imprint, it's not like an apparition that's going to like move your coffee cup. It's literally just playing over and over again in a loop. It was a tragic moment. You believe in that, right? Yeah. That people, that when there's a tragic event somewhere, it kind of like the memory gets stuck in space. And that's what they say about his voice. You're not all right. Okay.
Are you insinuating that he shouldn't be afraid of that?
I mean,
yeah. How do you want me to feel?
No.
I don't know. It'd be like watching an old movie. I don't know. They're not really there.
An old movie on repeat?
Yeah, on repeat over and over again. Hold on, sorry. I put this down so that I could, use my hands because no one can hear me unless I use my hands. The library there is a place of quiet focus, and it has its own shares of ghostly tales. Over the years, several people have reported sightings of a woman in old-fashioned clothing drifting through the stacks. She moves slowly, as if there's a lot of S's coming up, as if she's searching for something or someone. Books are said to fall off the shelves when no one is around. Cold drafts rush through the room even when the windows are closed. And it's more than just the cold. It's a sense of someone watching. And Anthony.
I think it's so funny because Haley is so like
she's a polar
complete opposite of like
both of you two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a lady in a long dress.
Did I say she's wearing a long dress?
I think you did.
I think you did.
I did?
I don't know.
I have to go back.
That's just how I picture it then.
I went to Ancestry and looked for a librarian who may have passed that worked at the school. And there was a lady that worked there for something like 45 years and passed away. So it very well could be Mary Hunt.
And she stuck around.
Yeah, she might. I mean, why not? If that freaks you out, this is really going to freak you out.
I mean, I feel like there's
other places
you would, yeah.
What? No. Many believe the spirit could be that of the former librarian, a former librarian who worked at Pocatello High School decades ago. The details about her life, much like the boy in the pool, are murky. Some say she was dedicated to the school, never missing a day of work until her death. Others claim she might have passed away unexpectedly, and her attachment to the library was so strong that she never left. Whispers have been reported, soft, unintelligible, just out of reach. Sometimes it's just the sound of someone saying, shh. You okay?
Cool.
Filling the library with an unnerving feeling that someone is always just beyond your sight. Late one night, as the school was quiet, a librarian was doing a final sweep before locking up. The lights flickered, but there was nothing new in the building. She didn't think of anything about it because it's an old building. But as she moved through the aisles of the books, she felt a chill, the kind of cold that doesn't come from a draft, but something deeper. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a figure. It was faint, but unmistakable, moving between the shelves. She actually thought it was a student who had stayed too late, and she called out, but there was no answer. As she approached the figure, it disappeared, but the cold stayed behind. Anthony would have ran screaming from the building.
I wouldn't have been able to move. I'd have been frozen.
You know what? I'm so curious what you would be like if something that specific happened to you. Like, you're so stoic. You'd be like, I need to go. Hurry up.
Well, we say our house that we grew up in when we were younger was haunted.
I don't remember how you reacted, though. Did you?
Don't remember.
You weren't terrified.
I don't remember being scared.
You were scared.
This
So
just
mean.
doesn't scare you. Do you just not believe?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think if something very specific happened to me, then maybe.
We're going to tell you a very specific story that happened to Haley in just a little bit. The auditorium at Pocatello High is another place where strange occurrences have been reported. Several people, including staff and students, have claimed to see a shadowy figure standing near the stage. The figure is often described as a man, though his identity remains unknown. Some have speculated that it could be a former teacher or a maintenance worker who spent a lot of time at the school and somehow never truly left. One night during a school play rehearsal, the lights began to flicker as the actors were running through a scene. At first, they thought it was a technical glitch, but then one of the students noticed a figure standing at the edge of the stage. They assumed it was someone who had wandered in late, but when they called out, the figure vanished right before their eyes. Since then, whispers of the auditorium ghost have persisted. Students say they hear faint footsteps echoing from the stage even when the room is empty. And sometimes the stage curtains move on their own as if someone is pulling them back to watch what's happening. Another popular story comes from the locker rooms beneath the gym. A janitor working late one night heard a series of strange, loud bangs coming from the locker room, as if someone was slamming the locker shut with force. Knowing that no one should have been there, he went to check, and when he arrived, the room was completely empty. However, one row of lockers had all their doors wide open. He closed the lockers and left, but as he walked back down the hallway, he heard the same banging noise. When he returned to the locker room, he found the doors were open again, this time with several of the lockers still swaying as if they had just moved. Haley's like, nope.
Is this school still like?
Yeah, it is.
Kids still go to it.
Yeah, and it's on Reddit. I mean, everyone talks about it. And the I'm going to get to it, but there's actually if you go online, don't do it now. I'm going to have you guys look at something in a minute, but right now, when you go home tonight, Google Pocatello High School security cameras. And they have, it's probably the most compelling piece of paranormal thing I've ever seen. They have cameras everywhere. And for whatever reason, someone's looking at the cameras from the night before. And the footage starts with the lights flickering, like a scary movie flickering, like how it's very technical, like it's going off here, going off there, and then going off here. And then in the empty hallway, you can actually see what looks, you're going to look it up right when you leave here, what looks like a see-through man walking through the hallway, like going from room to room down the hallway. So tonight when you leave here, Google Pocatello High School security camera, security ghost or something like that. It'll show up, and it'll show someone sitting at a desk, and they're videotaping all the different cameras, and you can literally see someone walking around in the high school.
Show of hands, who would send your kids to this school?
Well, I mean, how often do you go to high school? And everyone's like,
I believe that one.
I would go.
I was going to say next year field trip, and that's where we'll record.
Seriously.
Be ready.
I'll be there via Zoom.
The school has attracted so much attention over the years that a former student, John Bryan, wrote a book, The Ghosts of Pocatello High School. The teachers there complain of doors opening slowly. The teachers there complain of doors opening slowly and closing slowly. The paranormal activity is so woven into the fabric of the building, it's as much a part of the bricks and mortar, so much that teachers recognize that the opening and closing are just the ghost and tell the students, oh, that's just the ghost, don't worry about it. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I really want you guys to look at it because to me, I watch ghost shows, paranormal shows all the time. This is the best footage I've ever seen. And it's clearly not doctored. And it's...
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Jesus.
Yeah.
You got shit all over everything.
No, but really, how can you say that?
Instant, not believing it.
I promise. You guys, I want everyone to watch it and then send me a message on Instagram and tell me what you think. Because it's not there's videos of people watching the cameras playing. They didn't doctor them.
What? How is that your proof? I'm on. What?
It wasn't yesterday. It happened.
It's
I don't care
fine.
what Haley said. Carrie,
It's a wild
back me up.
claim.
It happened.
I mean, I would have to see it in order to back you up.
Okay, you'll see it. We're going to travel now to Texas, where El Paso High School holds its own tragic and haunting secrets, wrapped up in nearly a century of history, and it's in competition with Pocatello High School as the most haunted high school in America. El Paso High School, known as the Lady on the Hill, opened its doors in 1916. Sitting atop a mountainside, the school overlooks the city with an impressive presence. Its grand architecture is a reminder of an era filled with optimism and progress. I was so positive when I was writing this, like yesterday. Over the years, the school has earned a reputation for something far less uplifting. Perhaps the most famous story associated with El Paso High School is that of Ghost Girl. This is what I'm going to let you guys look up. She's not just a fleeting figure in a dark hallway or a whisper in the wind. Her presence is tied to a tragic story, and she's even been captured in a class photograph, leaving many to wonder who she is and why she still lingers. The legend goes that many years ago, a young girl took her own life by jumping from one of the school's windows. There are different theories about why she might have made the tragic choice. Some say she was overwhelmed by pressure, personal struggles that no one understood, and others whisper about heartbreak in a broken relationship that drove her to despair. The specific details remain unclear, and her death left a shadow over the school. For years, since like 1930, students have reported seeing a figure of a girl dressed in old-fashioned clothing, often standing near the upper windows where they believe that she jumped. She's described as having a haunting stillness. Are you all right, Anthony? You good?
Please drop all your items after the podcast, please.
She's described as having a haunting stillness, her face pale and expression distant, as if caught in a moment of sadness. Some who have seen her say she seemed to be Some who have seen her say that she seems to be staring out over the city, almost as if she's waiting for someone or something. The most chilling evidence of her presence, though, came in the 1980s, when a class photograph was taken. It seems like an ordinary picture at first, just a group of smiling students gathered together. But when the photo was developed... Oh, then why are you talking? When... My kids are going to fight right here, right in front of me. But when the photo was developed, someone noticed something strange. So I want you guys to grab your phones right now. Look up El Paso, Texas ghost girl photo. Carrie's probably already on it. You were already looking at it? Okay. Do you guys pull up this photo? Everyone look at it. There's a girl. I lost her. She's right here. You guys see her? Can you see her from way over there? Anyone else see her?
Oh, yeah.
She looks different than everyone else in the picture, right?
So second row from the bottom. She's the first one of that row, I think.
And
It's blurry, right? It's totally different than any of the other photos.
okay, look, next row up, 3 people to the left. That guy looks as pale as could be. You could call him a ghost, too. This is poor quality.
That's true.
She could have been, like, moving really quick, so I don't know if I'm
Okay,
buying this
just
one.
let me finish this.
That
story.
is
I'll let
fair.
you finish.
However,
Go
I
ahead.
feel like what she's wearing doesn't really match what everybody else is wearing.
She's in a nightgown.
Yeah.
Okay, but I also feel like there had to be a person there for it to be, like, even. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's...
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
there's nobody next to her.
There was no one next to him.
It looks a lot like the photos, recent photos from the Egyptian tomb when they were trying to take a photo of one of the statues.
And there's someone in the photo. Among the group is a figure of a girl. Her image slightly faded, her features less defined than the others. Unlike the other students, she wasn't smiling. Instead, she appeared out of place, almost ghostly, standing among the living. At first, people assumed it was a simple mistake, a photographic glitch. But when they started to look closer, things got even stranger. The school staff combed through the student directories, carefully naming and accounting for every person in the photo. Every face was recognized, every student confirmed, except for her. No one could identify who she was. She isn't listed in the school records, and no one remembered her being in the photo, including the people that she was in front of and the people that were on the side, one side of her, all said that she was not there. The ghostly figure sparked renewed interest in the old legend of the girl who jumped from the window. Many believe that the spirit in the photo is the same girl. Her spirit still attached to the school, and for some reason, she appeared that day, perhaps wanting to be remembered or perhaps trying to tell her story. The photo has been analyzed and debated for years, but no one's been able to offer a clear explanation. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to El Paso High School, hoping to uncover more about the girl's identity. Who else wants to hear Haley shit all over that? What
I'm not going to.
do you think it looks like she's not supposed to be there?
I don't know.
In that class picture, yes, but the rest of the pictures that are getting uploaded to the internet, I don't believe.
No. It's 1984, though. They didn't have the technology that we have now.
Well, yeah, but now people are going and saying that there's a girl standing in the window, and,
But
and
are they
that doesn't look like her.
they noticed that right after they took the picture in 1984?
Well, no, not they didn't. It's not like today
I know
where
it
you're
gets
looking
like
at
developed or
it. When
whatever.
it got developed, they noticed it. Yeah.
But like same year, like all the same people.
like when they passed it out to the students. She shits all over everything. They weren't using digital cameras in the school picture. I'm going to finish my story. A sealed-off classroom adds another layer to the eerie atmosphere at El Paso High School. Located in a forgotten corner of the building, the room has remained untouched for decades. with desks and chairs arranged as if the student simply vanished one day, leaving everything behind. Some believe that whatever tragedy befell the ghost girl may be linked to that room, but the details remain unclear. The room, much like the girl, is an unsolved mystery, one that continues to fascinate and unsettle those who visit the school. They've tried to put like other people in that room or other classes, and the doors lock, and this actually is in another story too. The doors randomly lock, the doors randomly open, so they just stop using it. Many who have attended or worked at El Paso High School speak of feelings of a strange presence, particularly in the hallways. Some report a shadowy figure out of the corner of their eye, only to turn and find nothing there. Doors have been known to open and close on their own, and there's a sense of quiet unease that settles over the school after the students go home for the day. People have taken photos of the sealed room from outside that show what looks to be a girl in the window. And you don't think any of those photos are true. Did you just look at those so fast, just like in 2 seconds?
Are you really that surprised?
No, you're probably looking at while I was still talking.
I didn't believe the school photo, but then the ones underneath that had the girl, I believe those.
You believe those
I
over the
believe
school
those.
photo?
I do.
It looks like the girl from The Ring.
Yes.
Now Anthony's really scared.
No, like this, I don't know if you guys scrolled all the way down, but there's like a group of people that are like running or something. I don't know. And there's a ghost in the back corner, which I believe. That's pretty scary. Okay, but this one, now if you guys kept scrolling, there's another girl who just takes a picture in front of a building. I'm like, okay, that's got to be Photoshopped or something, because why are you taking a picture in front of it? The aesthetics are terrible. There's a fence in front of you and porta potties.
In the window? I mean, people go there just to take pictures of that window.
That one's fake.
That one.
That one's fake.
Anthony's determined it with his professional experience in paranormal professionalism. He knows. Next, we are coming right back to California, to the Cathedral High School in Los Angeles, which, like I mentioned at the beginning, I don't typically believe that cemeteries are haunted. I do change my mind when they are built over. Cathedral High School in Los Angeles was built in 1925, but the land that it occupies has a much older and eerier history. Before the school was established, this area was a site of the old Calvary Cemetery. I just had a glitch. I don't know what just happened to me. Was the site of Old Calvary Cemetery, a Catholic burial ground used from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s. Did I say 1900s? What did I just say?
I don't know. Repeat yourself.
Did I say 1900s to 1900s? A Catholic burial ground used from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s. Although many of the graves were relocated before construction, it's believed that some were left behind, forever entwining the school's foundations with the spirits of those who were never fully laid to rest. As the school grew and underwent renovations, workers discovered tombstones, bones, and even coffins. In one instance, during a 2006 renovation, the school unearthed human remains, along with religious artifacts that had been buried with them. Some of the artifacts are now displayed near the school's football field.
Go team.
Where tombstones from the old cemetery stand as a reminder of this land's former purpose. This connection to the cemetery has given rise to numerous stories of paranormal activity. Maintenance workers, in particular, have reported eerie encounters during their late night shifts. Although teachers and school officials don't recognize or comment on the hauntings of the buildings, the main building is where the workers often feel the presence of someone watching them. A janitor working after hours heard footsteps coming from the hallway behind him. Assuming it was a student who had stayed late, he went to investigate. The hall was empty. But when he returned back to his work, the footsteps resumed, but this time louder and closer. The janitor rattled, quickly finished his duties, and left for the night. These kinds of encounters are not isolated. Workers frequently report cold spots, especially in areas where the tombstones were found during the renovations, and they claim to hear whispers, though the words are never quite clear, just the faint sound of voices from another time. Another story that has persisted through the years involves shadowy figures seen moving throughout the school's campus. Some students claim that during quiet moments, particularly in the evening or early morning, they've seen dark shapes darting across a football field, which is where the cemetery was too. These figures move swiftly, as if in a hurry, but disappear the moment someone tries to focus on them. The shadows have also been reported near the stairwells, particularly in the main building. A former student recounted a time during a late-night study session. She saw a figure move up the stairs ahead of her. At first, she thought it was another student or teacher, but when she reached the top, The figure was gone, and there was no sound of doors opening or closing, just silence. One of the more unsettling occurrences is the phantom ringing of a bell. A bell which signals class changes has occasionally rung at night, long after the school is closed. Teachers and students have reported hearing it during school events or sports games when the building is otherwise empty. Despite investigating the source of the sound, no one has been able to determine why the bell rings at odd hours. Some people attribute the spirits still connected to the school as a former student who is continuing their daily routines, like the pool guy, unaware that their time has passed. The bell, once an ordinary part of school life, may now serve as a reminder of a different era when the land beneath the school held a different purpose. One of the strangest tales comes from another locked room. Originally intended to be a storage area, the room has remained locked and unused for decades. Staff members say that anytime they've attempted to use this space, they've encountered issues, locking or malfunctioning doors getting stuck and not being able to open them to get out, and unexplained drafts. Eventually, they decide just to leave the room alone, some believing that whoever is connected to the space doesn't want it disturbed. There are reports from maintenance staff and even some teachers who claim to hear knocking coming from the door, especially late at night. Some describe it as rhythmic. Sorry, I'm going to say the word right. Rhythmic tapping, while others say it's more erratic, as though someone or something is trying to get out. The most well-known ghost story at Cathedral High ties back to the school's mascot. Guess what their school mascot is? Nobody can guess? No? Don't even try.
Would you say a ghost?
What'd you say? The Phantom is there.
Oh.
Like, they won't acknowledge. The school literally will not acknowledge that it's haunted. Like, the teachers...
That's a bit of a red flag.
Then they needed to pick a different mascot, I think.
Yeah, and then they named their mascot. I know, I don't get it.
Did they build on top of the cemetery, or did they?
No, they moved the bodies.
Okay, so they like dung up the graves.
Yes,
and
but they did not do it well.
That's wild.
They dug up
sorry.
the bodies
They dug up the bodies and built the high school.
and moved them somewhere
That's
else.
wild.
Yes, but they did not do a great job because when they had to add to the high school, like when they were renovating different rooms and buildings, they found more graves and bodies underneath them.
Ew.
So it was built right on top of a high school. There's every culture.
Whatever that one is, that's what I'm part of. Because you should, once they're down, you don't touch them. Yeah.
During sports games, particularly at night, students and athletes claim to feel a strange presence on the field, which again is part of what the cemetery was. Some have even reported seeing a figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing walking on the sidelines. And the same figure is described every time, a tall man with dark features, and he vanishes when you approach him. For those who attend or work at Cathedral High School, the hauntings are rarely spoken about and are never spoken about openly. Yet stories persist of tombstones, shadowy figures, and the ever-present feeling that someone or something is watching. Whether it's the spirits of those left behind the cemetery or simply the weight of the land's history, Cathedral High School remains one of Los Angeles' most haunted high schools. I keep looking at Anthony because I feel like
it's football season. You want to go?
Well, you're talking about like these ghosts and stuff on the field. I'm thinking you're talking about like the plot of Angels in the Outfield, like all these spirits and stuff.
Like where they're nice.
Helping the team win. Yeah.
No.
I'm kind of intrigued. Yeah. Did they go to state? Did they win?
No. But it is, I've never even heard of Cathedral High School before. Now I kind of want to go there, but I don't think that you'd be welcome if you were talking about the ghosts. The school literally does not.
I don't buy that. Change a mascot then. That's weird.
That their mascot
I
is
don't
the
get
Phantom.
it.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would choose that either. I did. Okay, so that's my haunted high school stories. And I'm gonna finish this. Cameron, can you do that ending? And then I'm gonna tell you guys a couple haunted Corona stories because that's how it was. You ready? How many of you even listen to my podcast? Thanks, Jake. That's so sweet of you. Did my husband just raise his hand because he's lying? We always do an
Paid
ending.
actor.
Paid actor. We always do an ending, so we're going to just record the ending, and then I'm going to tell you a couple little haunted Corona stories. You ready, Bug? Yes? High schools hold more than just memories. They're places where youth, emotion, and history collide. Over the decades, these buildings witnessed not only the highs and lows of student life, but also moments of tragedy or celebrations and high energies. What seemed to... Oh, bugger. Sorry. Yeah. High schools... Tell me what to do. High schools hold more than just memories. They're places where youth, emotion, and history collide. Over the decades, these buildings witness not only the highs and lows of student life, but also moments of tragedy or celebrations and high energies. Over the decades, these buildings witness not only the highs and lows of student life, but also moments of tragedy or celebrations and high energies that seem to leave an imprint. Whether it's the land they're built on, the weight of so many lives passing through, or simply the energy left behind. Some schools hold on to more than just the stories. They hold on to the past and the echoes of those who came before them. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for listening to this episode of Haunting History Podcast. We love hearing from you, so be sure to like, follow, and comment on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Haunting History Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to all your favorites.
Visit our website at hauntinghistorypodcast.com for more information on each episode, links to our Patreon page, and all of our social media platforms.
Until next time, I'm Kat.
I'm Haley.
Remember, the living are far scarier than any ghost.